Okay, I think I got my camera set decent. I'm going to start sewing the leotards. So what I did is I printed out my pattern. I've got my leotard front and my leotard back. I wrote on the paper, I said use stretch fabrics, because if you try and make this without using stretch fabrics, you're going to somehow have to put something down the back and make a opening so that it'll fit on the doll. So anyway, I took my freezer paper over here and I just cut a piece that was big enough to fit my pattern, and I put it on top, and I'm just going to trace it out because this is what I'm going to iron to my knit fabric. I just started it already just for saving time, so all I had left on here were a couple armholes. And this is the back. Okay, so that's it. I got my front, and I have my back, and I'm ready to attach that to my fabric. I'm going to make the same one as I made on with this. This is navy blue and white, so I have navy thread on my machine. And it's just these two pieces. That's all there is, the front and the back. Another thing you might want to do when you're making your patterns is take a stencil, take your front piece that you're making here, and take any stencil that you like and put a design on it. Just, for example, you can take this little heart and make a heart shape, cut that out, and design it with fabric paint. I did a little I have a little cupcake. So I tried this on this. I have this green fabric that I have a whole bunch of. So I made a little cupcake, and then I just painted it in with fabric paint to see how it would turn out. It's finally dry, so now I can take it off and sew it. I was just using this as an example. I don't know if I'm actually going to make these. I don't like this green fabric. It came in a grab bag. So, yeah, see, I got it caught already. It came in a grab bag of fabric, so that's why I have it. Okay, well, one thing you need to do is not get the paint on the paper, since it will stick the paper to your design. Okay, so there we go. So now I've got a little cupcake to put on top of on the front of the leotards. I didn't do a complete paint, which I probably could have, but you know, it's just, I'm not an artist, so, but it's just an idea if you want to do that, to maybe use a cupcake skirt or something to that effect. But anyway, that's just another idea you can use on these things. I would test it on your fabric. Like here's this is just hearts that I just did 2 layers of hearts on for blue to try it, to see how that was. And I just tried different techniques to see how it would look on the different fabric. So use your scraps for that before you actually do it on your real fabric. Okay, so there's that. Here's my 2 pieces that I'm going to use. So I'm going to get out my fabric. And because I'm using a fabric with a diagonal, I want the diagonals to match, I'm going to cut this off so I can see exactly where my fabric is going to line up. If I don't do that, and I just heat them on the fabric the way they are, I'll never know if they're lined up or not. So you don't really have to do the whole thing, just enough to see where your design goes. Let me do this one too. You can cut the whole thing out. You can reuse these this freezer paper over and over until it loses all its stickum. I usually get 4 to 5 out of each use if I make that many things. Okay, so I got my iron heating up. I've got my 2 pieces, and I've got it set up so I can see exactly how to line them up. And I'm going to grab my fabric. And this is, find a fabric that's got a nice stretch in it. This one has a really nice four-way stretch. It goes this way, up and down, and this is the least amount of stretch is this way. But I would, wherever your neckline is going to be, I would try to put that as my place where that has the most stretch, because when you put these on the doll, these are going to have to be able to stretch so you can get it on the body, because that's it. That's the whole thing. So I'm going to put my white stripes going across just like this. So I know that's the best stretch in this fabric. Okay, so go ahead and get your ironing board out and get your fabric lined up. And go ahead and put, you've already cut this side, so put it this way so you can line up the other one. And if you want to really save your fabric, line it up so that you don't waste any fabric. Okay, so there is my front. Okay, so I've got my front piece on, so now I'm going to take my back piece and I'm going to line up those two points to make sure that when I sew them together, they're going to line up exactly on the side together. And then I'll put that down there, heat it, get it hot so it'll stick to the fabric. And then I'm ready to cut them out. Okay, so they're ready to go. And to save time, I've already cut out the same thing I've done here, the front and the back. These were my original pattern. Okay, so that's the fabric part of it. Okay, so once you've got your two pieces, before we start sewing, anytime you're dealing with knit fabrics, you should use the needle that has the ballpoint needles. It says ballpoint needles and it says for knit fabrics. And the reason, if you use a sharp when you try and sew on this knit fabric, your machine is going to keep missing stitches. It's not going to make the connection on the bottom. It has to be, you can try it, but you're going to have nothing but headaches, so you really should use knit fabrics. You can use the ones for the heavyweight fabrics if you're going with a really heavy knit, or you can do the lighter, the 8011s for the lighter, the regular knit fabrics. These are universals. They fit any machine. They fit the Brothers, the Kenmore, the Singers. And right now at Joann's, all of the notions are 60% off. I was there yesterday and I spent over $100, and by the time I paid it was only $31, and I couldn't believe it. I saved like 75% of everything I bought at Joann's yesterday. Okay, so now we've got I cut these out already. I'm just going to peel them. So here's my front, here's my back. Okay, you can sew you can sew your sleeves together, you can sew the sides together, or you can do the top and then turn under your neckline and do it that way. That's the easiest way because you can lay it flat when you're sewing it on the machine. So your first thing you want to do is sew your two shoulders together. So there's that, and there's that one. Because knit has a tendency to get stuck in your feet, I always start with a 1/4 of an inch in, and then I come back and sew the other way when I'm done. And that helps me to not get jammed up all the time. So my first one is going to be this right here. I'm using a knit stitch to do the sewing on the inside. Once I turn the neckline down and I sew here. I'm going to be using a 3-point zigzag, but right now for all my seams I'm doing a knit stitch. So what I did is I sewed less that 1/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to pick up that other 1/4 of an inch. It seems like a lot of trouble, and if you have a better machine than I do, you probably don't have to do this. But I got tired of fighting with this knit, having to get stuck in my plate all the time. So I just gave up, and I just do it this way. I sew part of it, and then I come back and sew the other way. Sometimes it still gets stuck. Okay, let's fix it. Okay, one shoulder done. We're going to do the other shoulder. Okay, this is the boring part. Alright, so now we've got our 2 shoulder seams put together. Turn that off. Okay, I'm going to open up my seam, and I'm going to turn down 1/4 of an inch. This whole thing is set up with 1/4 of an inch allowances. There is no, this knit is non-fray. It won't ravel, it won't fray, so you don't even have to worry about turning your edges under. And it's just doll closed, so it's not a big deal. So I'm just turning under 1/4 of an inch, and I'm pinning it. I'm going to do that all the way around the neck area, and then I'm going to put a 3-point zigzag on there to hold it down. I'm probably going to run out of time on this video, and I'll probably just fast forward some of these so you can see the whole thing in one video. From start to finish, it takes about, maybe an hour and a half to make one of these up. Maybe less if you're really good at sewing. I'm not going to sew over these needles. I'm just putting these down so that when I'm going to start with a basting stitch, and I'm going to baste it, and then I'm going to go back and do the 3-point zigzag. The reason I don't do the zigzag first, because if my fabric bunches up on me or something, it is so hard to get that 3-point zigzag out of there. It's really a difficult stitch to take out, even with a stitch remover. So I'm going to first put a basting, a long basting stitch in it. And you are stretching your fabric a little. This is knit fabric, so it will stretch. Okay, so I think I've got that. It looks pretty good, so now I'm going to straight stitch it with a basting stitch. And I'm going to go dead center, because then when I do 3-point zigzag, I'm going to go this way so I can pull my needles out easier. Okay. Okay, so now I've got my next stitch is basted in. Now that's not going to be good enough, because now I want to go back and if you don't have a 3-point zigzag, just use a regular zigzag. If you don't have a regular zigzag, well, you probably have that. Or you can do the knit stitch. It's totally up to you. On this one, I did the 3-point zigzag. I wasn't sure exactly what I used on this, but yeah, I didn't do a 1 zigzag. I did a 3-point zigzag. Yeah, 3-point zigzag. So that's what I'll do on this one. So I'm going to do a number 5. And then I'm just going to do the same thing I just did. I'm going to cover up my stitches that I just made with a nice zigzag. And I'm going to hold that fabric down tight to that basting stitch I just did. And I'm going to start over here. went to a discount fabric store and I got a bunch of thread for $25, 25 cents for each roll of thread, the big ones. But it's not the best thread in the world, but for doll clothes it's okay. But it tends to jam on you. Okay, where was I? I was so close to... Okay, let me finish that up. Where was I? Here. Alrighty then. So we've got the neck done. Okay, so now I'm going to put in the rest of my seams. I'm going to do my two sides and my crotch. And I'm going to go back to my knit stitch. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start in 1/4 of an inch. Pick up that other 1/4 of an inch I didn't sew at the top. Like I said, if your machine works fine on knits, you don't have to do this, but mine jams almost every time. Okay, other side. Pick up that 1/4. The reason you're using a knit stitch on these is so that that fabric can actually stretch. If you use a straight stitch, it's going to snap your fabric. You want that to be able to stretch without breaking the thread. Okay, so last but not least is the crotch area. That other ½ inch. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with the rest of this, but we're going to do the same thing we did on the neck area. We're going to turn down our seams 1/4 inch, and we're going to baste them like we did the neck area, and then we're going to turn around and we're going to do either a 3-point zigzag or a zigzag or any of those stitches that you want to do that will work on these. Same thing with the armholes. And by the time you're finished, it's going to look just like this one. Only this one will be a little bigger than this one because this was one of my first ones. You can tell just by looking at the crotch area that I enlarged it quite a bit. But anyway, that's it, and it's so simple. I mean, like I said, you can get these done anywhere from an hour, hour and a half at the max. And if you're a good sewer, you don't even have to do the basting stitch first. You can just do the zigzag or the 3-point zigzag and by itself without doing anything else. In fact, I don't even see my basting stitch on these. Maybe I didn't even baste this one. Yeah, I probably didn't. Anyway, but I learned from experience it helps. But if you don't want that extra stitch in there with the basting, don't use it. But it just is